Good. I'll call the regular council meeting Monday, April 14th to order. I get a mover and seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Whitesell and Councillor Stanberry, all in favor? Carried.
First item is adoption of minutes, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held March 24, 2025 be adopted.
Okay, get a mover and seconder. Councillor Reid and Councillor Whitesell. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
And the next item is question period regarding items on the agenda.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Just say your name.
Rachel Lauren.
Okay.
So thank you for the response to the letter I wrote to Mayor and Council. But I do have a couple of questions about your response. When you talked about the formation of the Attainable Housing Society, so I think this goes to the councillors that were there when that happened. That in the strategic plan that you made, you wanted to undertake this attainable housing. And so your CAO at the time found that perhaps he would have a strategy to do that. My question is, why did the councillors that were elected in 2022 direct the CAO at the time to create a Canal Flats Society for Attainable Housing when there was already a Columbia Valley Housing Society?
We directed them to do that because the Columbia Valley Housing Society, when they came down, didn't want to start here. They wanted to start up in Invermere with their plan.
So that was really.
So we would have been put on the back burner is the reason why.
Okay, fair enough. So they have 7 members on their board. And from what I can gather, there's 3 on the Canal Flats Society board. So my question to you is, I read all the people that were on the board in the Columbia Valley, and you have a CPA accountant, you have a real estate agent, you have the president of the Columbia Valley Chamber, you have a CEO from Radium, a rental housing manager, a development consultant, and here we have a person who is a bookkeeper, a person who is an early childhood educator, and a person who has not really declared his background to be on the board other than he was a CEO here and is on leave. So I ask you, do you really feel that's a diverse board with 3 people on it?
We have nothing to do with that board.
I beg your pardon?
We don't have anything to do with the board.
Well,
They have to pick their people, and we've had suggested to them that they put more people on the board.
But it didn't happen, and
And we've suggested again. We've suggested it several times.
Well, I hope you will support that if some people come forward and want to be on the board. Thank you for your answer.
You can ask those people to be on board. They are the ones that make the decisions. They should be putting more people on. I agree.
Thank you so much. Already have.
Yeah.
Dave Ray, I'm requested to become a member of the society and possibly the board. And since you supported the other 3 members of the board, I'd ask if you'd support my addition as a member and a director of the board.
Well,
council. You gave them your endorsement. I'm just asking if you give mine and some other people.
Well, I'll give endorsements to the people that I want to give the endorsements to. Dave. Go ahead.
Just if I may, we don't have control. The village can.
I know.
We can't. We don't have any further authority over that society, over any other society in the village of Canal Flats. We really don't. We do not have. If they can pick and choose who they want in the society independently, then the village.
I asked if you would support me being added to the board, recommending it to their members.
I can recommend it, whether they take my recommendation or not, will be up to them, but yes,
Make that recommendation.
yeah, I'll make that recommendation. I support you.
You would be happy to vote.
If I may, that would be a personal recommendation.
Yeah,
not a
fine.
recommendation.
Not a recommendation from us, it'd be my personal recommendation.
I'm sorry, but it makes no sense. You form a society and then you put your bookkeeper, your CAO on there.
No.
No, that's not what happened, Marie. So we didn't put anybody on there. Richard asked those people to be on there, I guess, or they asked to be on the board.
And he was working for you at the time.
Yeah,
So that doesn't seem like,
he was supposed to what was supposed to happen was he was supposed to set it up and he was supposed to come back to work here. That's what was supposed to happen.
I feel like, there was a plan made that wasn't made in public because all of a sudden one day on your agenda, it comes that there's a society's been formed. And, the report was from Mr. Wicken. So I'm saying to you, maybe a little transparency to the public would be a good idea. So if we saw that you were thinking of forming a society, that people could put their name forward at the beginning. So just saying, it doesn't make too much sense.
Make a further
Go ahead.
that the council asked the society for their financials as per your agreement with the society.
We did.
If I
Yeah,
may,
go ahead.
That's between the society and the village, and, if it's public, it will be public.
I'm asking the council if they will
We-
request that of the society.
Okay, any other questions?
Is this the only question period?
Yeah, this is supposed to be.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't have one. My name's Kathy Butler from Black Sheep Camp Kootenai, or Black Sheep in the group. So my question is about agenda item number 1, 2, the report to council. And I was made aware of this in a circular way. It didn't come to me. But my question is, do you feel that there are factual statements in this summary information that was made to the public?
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
So staff was advised that there is a registered statutory right of way within the property to access to the river.
Yes, there is RW 501.
And you have a friend from the forestry. That you,
And maps that I shared with you.
so we have talked to lawyers. We know our title. There is not a public access right of way through our land.
That's not, if there is a note on that title, there is a
You
note
see
in the
Hydro?
map.
BC Hydro. Right of way. There is no public access right of way on the title, and we're happy to pursue this later and have lawyers weigh in and discuss it with the village, but that is not a fact.
No, there is an ROW on
There is a right of way for BC Hydro.
That is
So,
a fact.
Which does not create public access. It's for BC Hydro.
so that is an infactual statement. There is not public access right of way. As far as staff being unaware of any formal proposal received from the property owners, is that a fact?
Yes, it is. I know you made a presentation to council in 2023, was it? But that is not a formal presentation. In order to be able to do a donation that you're proposing, that piece of property would have to be subdivided, there would have to be a survey, legal fees, and there's no agreement made on who's paying that, what the circumstances are. There's never been an actual formal written request to donate that land. There was a presentation But we receive lots of presentations from developers and community members that want to do things that never come to pass. So that's not an official request. That an official request would have to be some kind, an application for subdivision or a request to, in writing to enter into an agreement.
And there'd be forms to that effect on the
Yes.
website?
No, not to donate this, but to subdivide, yes.
And I did do several follow-ups and requests. I have asked the, this is a former CAO. I've had several meetings, several requests. I've sent several emails. I have proof of all of that, where I request a follow-up meeting, where I request how do I do this? How do we go ahead and make this formal? How do we make this happen? All of which have gone no reply or no answer.
And I have no record of that.
Even though it would come to, you're the interim CAO.
Well, whatever happened in 2023 did not get passed down to me now.
I have brought it up several times since then to now. So note taken that a discussion needs to be picked up again by me to make sure there is a formal presentation following a formal protocol and what that is.
Could I ask something?
Yeah.
In your statement, would you say that using the word formal in there, which is fair enough, maybe gave the public a little bit of an inaccurate picture in the sense that it sounds like we have not done anything as far as moving that. Basically what we put on the sign was a lie. That's sort of how it seemed to be positioned to me. So I wanted to ask, do you think a fair representation of the activities we've got, which is multiple pages of emails and attempts to deal with council in a constructive manner in order to have the land donated for public access for the village, for everybody? We've done a lot of work and a lot of follow-up on that. And the way you framed that seemed to indicate that we didn't do anything and what we put on our signs was our input.
In municipal world,
Yeah.
formal means an application, means paper. So there is no actual letter to council requesting that. There's no application for
Not my
subdivision.
question.
But to me, you're asking if I'm asking about formal. Yes, in my world, that's a formal request. A presentation is not a formal request, or emails going back and forth, because to be honest, you could have changed your mind, and so then it's not formal now because there's no official, it's okay, maybe official request. Same thing in my world, formal,
Seemed to
official.
indicate that we had done nothing would be my position, but fair enough, accept your answer.
And I would like to ask if the village has been in discussions with Certainty about future plans and future amendments to go under the bridge and change their routing.
There is no plans at this time for Certainty.
That wasn't my
Not a
question.
question.
There is no negotiation, no, it
Not my
was a
question.
suggestion
Have there been discussions?
of a possibility, yes, but that it hasn't been pursued.
No, that's not the current plan. It's not in the amendment. It's not the current amendment. But there have been discussions with the village and Certainty.
Yes, about the dike improvement, and if they wanted to use it. Mr. Waken thought, and MOT, to be honest, thinks the safest route is under the bridge and through the Forest Service Road or the cutoff road. But that is not being pursued, and in the meantime, Certainty built this road, and now they're going to use that road because there was a lot of money spent on that road.
Are you aware of discussions and their preference to go under the route, under the bridge?
Well, yes, we discussed it on Thursday, and they, if all things being equal, that's probably how they would want to do it, but that's not going to happen now. They have too much invested in many years of trying to get the permitting to use the highway, and they're not interested in revisiting it now to go under the bridge.
So
Because they would have to start right from the
They'd have to
beginning.
start all over again.
yeah, but we have been told that is their intent to do another amendment.
That is not what I've been told.
A follow-up to this current amendment, it would be part of the future and next amendment.
That's not what I've been told.
And they have said that their discussions are with you on that.
They've never, no, that's not what I was told on Thursday.
I do have documentation to support it. So if it came, do you feel certainty? Has the Ministry of Transportation and Transit has approved the current routing to the road they paved and did out onto the highway and taking option 2 and turning at Thunder Hill? So the Ministry of Transportation has approved that.
In principle, they have not officially approved it, but they were open to that suggestion on Thursday. To that option.
Right.
But nothing is officially determined at this time.
And what is the village position on that routing?
To be honest, the village doesn't have a say on what happens on the highway. Honestly, we don't, they are an entity of themselves and they can make that decision themselves. Whether we like it or not, they'll do what they want to do.
On the highway?
Yeah.
And does the village have any say on what happens under the bridge and along the forestry service road?
Some,
Could you define that a little? Some?
well, some, an agreement, an arrangement. We can voice our opinion, but again, yeah, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, about that one, but the dike, the dike area is still going to be brought up. So, it doesn't look like it will be passable in the future anyways, from what I understand. I'm not quite sure, but, yeah, anything that happens on the highway is Ministry of Transportation's department, not the village.
And we're unsure who the authority is for the FSR.
Yes, at this time, I'm not 100% sure, so I don't really want to.
Mhm.
I don't know where it ends, where Certainty's agreement ends, but it doesn't go under the bridge, but I'm not sure.
And as far as the dike is concerned, the dike is supposed to come up 1.5 meters. I've asked the question and haven't heard the answer. What is the height that a gypsum tandem trucks every 4
I
minutes?
have no idea.
Don't know.
And
And
so,
it's not going to be every 4 minutes. It is exactly the rate is now is what it's going to be. It's not going to increase.
so in my discussions with Certainty, de facto, they will say every 4 minutes, 4 AM to 6 PM. Are you saying the village that has never heard that?
That's not the number I was told on Thursday or
Thursday, yeah.
prior. It's 35 trucks loaded and unloaded. And if in the 12 hours, if you do the math, it's every 18 minutes.
Is that 70 trips or 30?
So it's 75, yeah, 70 trips, one loaded, one unloaded.
In 14 hours, starting at 4 AM?
And do you feel 4 AM is a reasonable time to start?
That would be the
Traffic?
safest option, the less amount of trucks on the highway.
And again, we have been told it's every 4 minutes, 4 AM to 6 PM.
Yeah, we haven't been told that, no.
If it's the same amount of trucks in the future as it is now, then it's not 4 minutes now, so. And that is the requirement of getting their permitting from MOT. They have to state how many trucks it's going to be.
So yeah, we can continue to ask questions on that front and get clarifications that way. That is the information that we were given in our meeting with Certainty. So as far as the dike height, Certainty hasn't done any calculations or math on whether they actually would be able to fit under the bridge. If
I
there
don't
was
think
a-
they're researching it at all.
I don't think they're researching it yet.
So they haven't been having those discussions for the last 2 years?
Not under the bridge, no.
Not with me either.
I do know that those negotiations and discussions have been happening since Richard 2 years ago. And Certainty would say the only discussions they're having with the village at this time are about a future amendment to go into the bridge.
No, they're not. We're not negotiating that at this time.
Not for this amendment,
Correct.
not the current V3 amendment, but the future, the following amendments.
I have no indication that they're asking for a following amendment.
They would say their discussions have been about the future amendment and that road. So then my questions were, how does that work with the dike? What is
We
the
can
height of
go
the
around
dike?
and around, but I'm telling you, we are not in negotiations with them to go under the bridge at this time. Whatever happened in the past is the past, but at this time,
And I'm just
that is
wondering
where we're
what
at.
the future, what is the future of the vision?
I can't answer for certainty.
What is what is your vision of the future? Do you feel that there should be
We can't
trucks
speak to
along
that.
the recreation?
I don't think that there would be
bridge?
trucks on that dike. I don't think that they would be putting the trucks on the dike on the bridge. To be honest with you.
That's what they've been discussing.
Well, I just don't think that they will allow it. The dike authority, I don't think would allow
And do you know who the dike authority is at this time?
it. Right now, it would be, well, we're hoping it will be RDEK. Will be the dike authority.
And do you know when those decisions will be made? If I understand it correctly, until there's a dike authority, you can't have a dike built, though you have funding.
We have the funding in place.
Yeah,
But until you have a dike authority, you can't go ahead with the dike, building the dike.
That's correct.
And do you have permissions for the for road, for the FSR? Is all of that in place
do
For
that.
which one? No, that is not in place yet.
for the dike?
Right, correct.
Yeah. And will the dike be on that road or to the inside of it along the river?
It's along the river. The road isn't going to be disturbed, I don't think, unless, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's gonna be built up. I can't remember now. But there will be a road there for sure.
So no timeline on when there'll be a dike authority?
We're still
We're
working.
working on that right now, yes.
Yeah, and your best guess for a dike would be?
Well, we'd like to have it by the end of the year. We'd like the project done by the end of the year.
Okay, those are my questions. There might be more.
I had one question about,
Sure.
one more in your statement was, it was interesting. So the proposal, the approvals, is that the public consultation will happen after approvals from whatever the multiple authorities were. Like, how do you then, from public consultation, make a difference to the approvals if it's already been approved? I don't understand it.
That's not our process. It's their process. It's a provincial process. It's not a village process. So I don't have a say in that.
Is there an ability, have you ever seen a process or an approved, something that's been approved change after it's already been approved and due to
I haven't.
public consultation?
To be honest, this is the first time we've seen this kind of or this kind of project, so no. But I don't,
It seems fascinating.
it's not our process.
But that,
Seems a little backwards.
it does, doesn't it?
So what is the village's involvement with Certainty and Ministry of Transportation? What are the conversations that you're having now?
It's road use agreement. And that would be it, really.
So when you said that they do their own thing in a silo and that the village has no control over that, what is the point of over highway routes, all of this? What exactly are you speaking about?
Well, when they use village roads,
Okay,
that's the
That's-
agreement that we're using, or we're negotiating with, but the highway route is 100% highway.
so as soon as it hits the highway, that's where the village
That's
is.
where we're at.
Is. So the conversations to this point have been about the usage of everything prior to that point.
Yeah.
And there's questions about where the FSR ends, who the authority is for that plot of land, and who would be the dike authority. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Well,
The dike authority, we don't have in place yet.
but if I may, the dike authority is not the authority for the FSR road.
Do we know who that is?
Well, right now it's the property owners that it's on the property. This one here along the highway was CAN4, but I think now it's a village FSR or cutoff road.
And what's the village opinion on speed limits, turning lanes, other levers to control traffic and improve safety?
Well, we're having a meeting with them tomorrow about that, because we would like to see it lowered. And we would like to see, well, they told us what they would like. We have no authority of that. We can just give them recommendations of what we think would be best and safe. And that's what we're gonna be doing tomorrow.
and the village would like to see a lower speed limit. With CertainTeed's involvement and knowing what the current amendment is and what the current plan is, are there other issues that should be brought to the table, like turning lanes? Should CertainTeed be involved and looking to do things that would improve the safety of the village and how it works? Are they at the table saying, look, we know we need to contribute to the safety on the highway and the truck use? Is that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that would be between CertainTeed and MOT.
Yeah.
And so whatever agreement they make, in our meeting on Thursday, the representatives from MOT were still not too excited about reducing the speed. And that is not the village position. We would love to see the speed lowered. But ultimately they make that decision.
And we've been asking for that lowered speed limit since the beginning of our term.
Yeah,
And prior.
and I think even prior, yeah. I do think that would go a very long way. I have no further questions. Okay. From the house, thank you.
Clarify one thing, phase 1 and 3 of the dike, that was all engineered and done prior to the new council.
Yeah.
The only thing we were waiting for was the province to get the diking authority done, which was supposed to be Canal Path. I don't know why the RDK has it. But my question is, did you change phase 1 and phase 2 of the original
No.
diking? Because the original diking in phase 1 definitively said that there would not be room for orchard.
The 2 meters was going up.
So I'm just wondering if something changed.
No, in the same way.
That's my memory from all the reports.
And that's kind of what we were saying, that I don't think the trucks would fit under there anyways, after the dike's in. But pretty consistent with that,
Wouldn't there be a calculation on that by this point?
you would think.
How long the, you've got a company like CertainTeed and Ministry of Transportation that no one can come up with a calculation?
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is all calculated and it's all engineered. I do think that previous administration was trying to get the trucks off the highway and maybe made this suggestion to CertainTeed, and it was a discussion. Doesn't necessarily mean it was an actual, got to proposal and negotiations. I think it was a conversation. And somehow this has turned into
Well, yeah.
a bigger issue than it originally was meant to be, I think, or originally happened. I think it was a conversation.
Yeah.
If I may comment on that, just on Smith in person, and then a follow-up meeting on January 15th. So this was September of 2024, so the following year. He came to me at the campground and said, we aim to pursue a path under the bridge. What are your grievances, so to speak? Those are listed in the APD, although there are inaccuracies there that I'd like to touch on with them. Separately from you, January 15th, Colin confirmed that their preferred route would be under the bridge in an amendment proposal description B4, which would follow B3 upon approval. So I think that the question as it pertains to public council and how those decisions are made, whether or not it's a CertainTeed and MOT problem, I think that is the village's concern, and I'm curious how you intend to handle that.
I don't know what, there's nothing proposed.
The proposal is option 2 to turn off at Thunder Hill. That is all we have in front of us, and so that is all that staff can negotiate and bring to council. That is it. That's all we have.
Sure. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one comment, and I might have heard it wrong, but Ms. Sudanov said that perhaps previous administration had conversation with CertainTeed about them using the dike road. Because if that's the case, it's not accurate for sure. And I know Councilor Dorm's here. CertainTeed originally wanted to run their trucks through town, behind this office, come out on Granger Road. That was their route. And previous council said absolutely not. And so there was a bunch of negotiation that happened in that period of time, in which Mr. Fair actually offered his land up as a direct line to come through town. We actually told them to go on the 9 Mile Bridge, exit the highway, you know, by White Swan and come that way, but it was a hard stop, and we're not gonna let trucks go through town. So the only choice that we had ever considered or talked with them about was this route that they're currently using through Mr. Fair's land and the land that he gave up. There's that plan that went forward for a paved road and so on, but for sure, there was never conversation.
And that's the only one that was proposed that we discussed too.
Yeah, so nothing with previous council for the record.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry, no, I didn't mean previous council. I
Okay,
meant administration.
okay, thank you, sorry, I just thought it was like, oh,
No, it's
Okay.
administration.
thank you.
Sorry, last thing, if the engineering has been done, how do we get a copy? How do we see it? How do we figure out the heights, et cetera? Where do we go?
That's not necessarily public information,
Why not? I don't know.
because it's not up for negotiation or review. The villagers paid good dollars to have that engineering plan. It belongs to the village to be
It belongs
used
to the
for-
people of the village, I would think, does it not?
Yeah, then you can apply for freedom of information request and.
Well, it goes to private property.
Okay.
So, but wouldn't the village then know categorically if there's room following the dike?
The public works foreman probably does, I do. That's, you know, I'm the administrator, I do administration, not those kinds of projects. So-
Any further questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next item is a presentation from Teresa Wood.
We can get a chair.
Extra cell phone.
Pull it over next to
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, and I'm done. Oh, so thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me tonight. My name is Teresa Wood. I think we've met. I am the contractor for Columbia Valley Community Economic Development, which means a lot of different things, but right now it means film. There has been an uptick in interest in film in the Columbus. I feel like I'm back into everybody. Okay, I'm going. Okay. So right now we're working very hard on building the film industry in the Columbia Valley, and it's a lot of different things in different areas. So I'm just gonna give an overview and then kind of make a request to the village of Canal Flats. Slide. Like president here. So you may be aware about our recent success. We had a film called All Night Wrong filmed in the Valley. It's an independent feature. It's going to be launching at a film festival sometime this summer. I'm not on the production team, so I only know minuscule bits. And then we're hoping to do a screening here in late fall, winter, whenever it becomes available, and we figure out the distributors. It'll be very exciting. They did film in Invermere and Radium. And a lot of it was in Radium, actually. The picture on the right is Radius Retreat. It was perfect having a private forest you could do whatever in. And on the left was, this is a Fast Gas, and they changed the name to Gasoline Alley, I think. There's new signs on there. So it was pretty fun. And the project employed 15 locals that include PAs, so production assistants, who can do whatever they want you to do. Assistant directors, I was talking to one fellow who he moved here about 5-6 years ago as an electrician. They got hired, he's like, I'm assistant director number 2. And they're like, oh, let's call it for the next project. It was pretty cool. Slide, sorry. There we are. And there's a picture of 2 of the younger local guys shoveling snow. It was neat because the film is not centered around snow, but it did snow. So they were actually going to the rink and loading up trucks with snow and bringing it to location for continuity. So in case it snowed, and it did. It snowed hard. And Devin, the fellow on the left there, his plan is to go to film school. And then he got to get some hands-on experience on the whole production here, so it was fabulous. Another benefit was location fees. So I'm not too privy on what was spent there because that's negotiated individually. So it was lots of private, there's a lot of locations in this movie, so I'm told in my first one. There's private houses, nonprofits, they used Pine Logs was one of the places. And on top of that, there's local government and location fees. So that's something that's very new to the area. I'm not 100% sure what was charged, but there's things like day rates, parking. There was a whole bunch of different, like they used, well, it's not municipal, but the curling club in Invermere, they used the physio for lunch. Like they were all over the place, and all of those come with location fees. So it's kind of a nice boost if you're a homeowner or a nonprofit whose location got used. I think they had the circus is where they have all their big trucks set up, and they use the old community hall parking in Invermere for that. In Radian, they used a private location, so it's very basically what works for them, and they'll figure it out. And then we had a really good local reputation after this film. The crew loved it, despite being on nights. So they worked 5 p.m. to 7 a.m.-ish, and then they go to bed. So I know Laura had a really good time on the Saturday they were, but people, they loved it here. They loved being able to go outside when they could and just being here. It was really easy to film. It was downtown Invermere mid-November at midnight. So it wasn't too much, a lot different than Vancouver. And I think Vancouver helped. They had like a monsoon at the time. We're like, oh, we're dry. So that was handy, and everyone loved the scenery, and a lot of the folks want to come back. Talking to different, I forget the positions, but just working on set. They really liked working with all the restaurants and meeting the people. They love the Spice Hut. So things take that you don't really expect. We're on it. What's next? So the same production team with a different writer and director were out in the valley on Monday and Tuesday. We spent half a day in Canal Flats scouting. I am sorry if you saw me and it looked creepy, or blocked your driver. We got out at one house, we're taking pictures, like, what's going on with right? We should tell people we're like, just some randos taking pictures of houses and all the different scenes. They really like Canal Flats, and the script is pretty unique and cool. So there's me outside the church, and that's one of the producers and the writer in the background. And the school, the director is in the left picture in the red hat. She's from Newfoundland, and the writer is from Toronto. So they both flew in with 2 producers. We toured around. You can see us in the backyard there being creepy at Lake Lillian, and then we were at Camp 4 looking at trains. It was a very vast and wide scouting. So there's a few advantages we have in the Columbia Valley. Obviously, our scenery. I am told that Canadian scenery is doing really, really well right now. Was that? I'm not even gonna pretend I know the name of it. There's a series that's super popular right now, a direct-to-streaming one, and it's shoot, I should be embarrassed. I don't know, but though they're doing really well. But the typical scenery in Canmore in that area is kind of getting used enough that people are kind of recognizing it. So they're researching more and more for that stuff. Support. So what I call it a one-on-one concierge, and I'm the concierge. So with this one, I got the script and I built a full 2-day scout, and they trusted me a lot, which was scary. So we'll hold hands and be like, here's where you eat. We had lunch with the social, and like, here's what you do. And I just kind of drive them around their mind for 2 days. And the director said that's the most locations he's ever seen in a day. So I think that's good. And then tax credits. Tax credits are available here. It's a distant location. We're going to talk about that again. So remember that one. And there's lots of training, and Canadian film really relies on tax credits. It's a huge advantage. You can see the difference in Winnipeg's super aggressive tax credits, and ours are not Winnipeg's, but also we got the scenery.
Was it The Last of Us?
That was in Canmore, yes, but it's a series and it's something Virgin River.
Oh.
Thank you. So what we need to do, it was described really well. We are at the Invermere Film Festival. We had a panel. It was really cool. And there's a producer, he's a cinematographer in the area. He said, right now we're a location, not an industry. So we have what you need to film here if you want to parachute a crew in and do what you have to do. But something we really lack is crew. And that's what makes it really expensive for productions to shoot here, because you have to bring everyone in from Kelowna and Vancouver. Sometimes you work with Calgary, but it's very union driven. So having outside in the province workers kind of doesn't work for some of the tax credits because you don't hire BC. And It's complicated and I can pretend I know, but I only know the surface. And again, the tax credits, you get a distance tax credit when you're 2 hours outside of Vancouver. So Kelowna and us have the same tax credit. So I'm gonna talk to council later too, with another hat on, about what we can do to improve that. And there's other locations, so ours, BC's is labor only. If you go to Winnipeg, it's all expense. So that includes accommodation, transportation, everything. And in BC, it's labor only. So we're just trying to kind of paint the whole picture. It's not the end all be all. North Bay was very successful in their efforts up there. They have people who write script for North Bay because they went so aggressive. And they do have an industry now. They have sound studios and they have crew. So it was very, very cool. We need to build our reputation. So we do have a good one. We want to build it up and just get more here. And someone even highlighted other areas, not just feature films or series, but like, hey, commercials and catalog shoots and all these amazing things. Like we need to like Land's End, is that a clothing store? No.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like Lee Valley and like outdoor places, come here, shoot your products here. So that all builds up everything. And now here's the most fun part about movies, the local policy. When a movie comes to town, what do they expect? If someone walked in the office today and said, we want to shoot a movie here, be like, great. We need to close this road for hours. Okay. We need to put these gigantic lights outside a house. What do we do? And a lot of these came to light for me in the last production because no one has film permits in the valley. I think there's one municipality that has an event application. So it was and it was good. It was figuring out what we need to do. And it was a good time of year with a really good production crew. So like, oh, here's how we do it. I think in Radium we were named, it was like an event of special significance or something crazy. And the location manager was like, that was a first, great. So it'll just be really working out, hey, when it comes to town, are we ready to go? And so it's quick, and it was more last minute than I ever would have anticipated. We were getting applications like 2 weeks out. Because like, oh, well, this star's available then, so we have to ship things, we have to move this, and this, no, so we just kind of move everything. It was really interesting. What we're looking at right now for the film application process is Columbia Valley Economic Development receives the overview, and they can say, hey, this is what we're looking at doing. We want to use Canal Flats for this, blah, blah, and we're like, hey, that looks great. Submit your stuff, and I think we would get a level of information. For instance, drones are very common on set, and the film is so highly regulated that you need a licensed drone operator. There's no exceptions, and they have to file their flight plan. And I would never expect municipalities to follow up to see if they filed a flight plan. That's on their licensing. But it's good for us to know so that we can say, hey, this is to be expected. And that's what we do with RDEC. They were filming in Windermere, and they don't have most of the applications a town would have, and everything's Modi, so no authority there. So we just said, hey, this is happening in case people called or were like, hey, what's going on at the White House? There's 10 million trucks and what's going on? So they were informed and they knew. And part of the process is also the production will go, if we're filming at your house, all your neighbors get letters with contacts. So and they get the production and mine. So if there's an issue, it's solved lickety-split. So then what we'll do is Columbia, this is just an imagination. Well, it's not, this is how it happens. So far, but it's always open to change and modification as we go. So I would help with the application, and then the local government issues the approvals. So we would just like, hey, maybe you should consider this or that, or hey, for Canal Flats, you need this application, and if you have road closure, it's this. And then ultimately you guys approve everything that happens in the town. And then we would work closely with the location manager throughout. So if they're like, oh, we need this or that, or changes, or can we, just weird stuff that comes up. And then hopefully the Columbia Valley Economic Development will help local governments with potential guidelines. And ideally, I know they're not going to be the same, but if they're similar throughout the Columbia Valley, so we're not, hey, here's this and here's this, and we're wildly different. And you can expect night and day from Radium to Canal Flats, and it'd be tricky just marketing as an area. And especially if they're like, oh, we want Canal Flats this day and like Radium the next day, and they look like totally different, opposite, like in different countries, then it'd be difficult for the films. So my ask is that we request council approve staff to work with Columbia Valley Community Economic Development to develop filming guidelines, and once approved, staff have delegated authority to approve film applications within reason. So that So delegated authority means that staff can approve if it's within the guidelines, and that's important to film because of the timeliness. So if it was like, hey, I'm making this up, but this would be awesome. If we're like, oh, we're in June in Canmore and it snowed, we need a location tomorrow because we have everyone lined up. We're like, yeah, we can get you in. You need to fill out this. Let's do it. So that's why the delegated authority is for timeliness. And of course, if it's like, we need to buy out the whole town for a week, maybe that should go to council. So that's my ask. And no questions.
Okay, any questions for Teresa? Go ahead.
I'm guessing you were kind of like the liaison between local government and the production team. Am I right in that?
To an extent, once the application was in, they went back and forth between each other. So for instance, there was one street in Invermere that they were like, oh, we want to have parking here for the crew. And it was in a residential, and they're like, well, actually, we want you to have it over here. That's something that happened between them. I need to be the middle person on that one.
Okay, so it's more like in the infancy, like in the application stage, that's when we get part of that.
You got it.
So when somebody fills out an application, is the town, is there like a mock schedule for what they would need? Are they specific about the streets, the times, right during the initial application process? So, staff and council wouldn't be surprised, if on this day it moved to another area, like it's all pretty regimented in its schedule.
Extremely, yeah. And it might change, and then for that, they need to submit something saying, hey, is this okay if we change it? But it's prep time on site, because the crew will come in if they're decorating, say they're making this house Christmas in October, say, hey, we're doing prep time here, film time here, cleanup time then, and then we're out. Like, so it's very, very regimented.
Now, you'd also mentioned that it's really tough to get the actual the workers, like the crew itself, from location to location. Are there any strategies that were used like in Invermere or other places where we can employ those local people, and they're like, do we have to have them sort of on standby because there's no, like, you never know when an application is going to come through, and they want to be able to hire those people locally. They need to see that those people have experience, they know what they're doing once they arrive on site and the service gets set up. So what strategies, or are there any strategies that we can do to help facilitate kind of like a local employment base here where we can, where somebody can basically go on the call tree and start getting people so that they're ready to jump when a film's coming?
You betcha. So what we're doing for training wise is, and that's the tricky part about this, is because I'm not hesitant in the training. I want to make sure it's done properly, and that when you take this training, you can expect steady employment. So it's kind of tricky in that respect. The positions that were hired in this last one is kind of trained on the job, and those ones are great. But it's having the more technical ones for sure. And so we're hosting an event, and I'll send it for your newsletter. It's in May, and it's just an intro to careers in film, and it's kind of an overview. Hey, these are all the careers, blah, blah, blah. If there's something that interests you, we can work further on that. And then we're also working on some micro-credentialing to be available. The North Island Commission has really good micro-credentials for film, and it's the technical stuff that you need. We've been discussing different boot camps. We realize it's going to take time, so also working with high school students. Like, hey, this could be a thing. If you're interested in this might be something you can do here. So again, you don't need to, for sure. I think you should leave for a little bit no matter where you're from and then come back. But this is something that we want to make for you. If that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And do you know like what the advantageous tax credits for film? I've actually never prepared a film return, and somebody corporations doing film. So
yeah, I want to say it's 36% here, but a lot of it also depends, and that's just the provision, and it all depends on how many people you're training, how many BC crew, how many days and locations can make an impact. Something we're working at too is no films happen without investment. So we're also working, this last one had a very, very supportive local investor, and they said a lot of it can be that if the investment's in that community, that's where film happens. If Fernie said, hey, we have investors ready to go, film will go there. So that's another piece that so many pieces. So that's another piece too.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you.
Oh.
Are they still thinking about a school here? Getting some, film school training in, the College of the Rocky?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're working with College of the Rockies on exploring micro-credentials, and there is a micro-credential open call for colleges right now. Yes, and we did apply last June for Work BC funding for 16 people to take the production assistant and 16 people to take set decorating through North Island College. And how that would work is they've delivered it online. And then it's not small beansies micro-credentials, I think it's 2 months of full-time school. So it's delivered online, then they bring their whole truck with all their gear, and you have the technical training. So we didn't get the money, bummer, but we're still moving forward in those ones, and they're union approved as well. There's certain credentials that are union approved, so that you can go on and whenever you have the union support is.
much better.
Yeah, so we're exploring every option with that, even if we do these programs, say, hey, I'm interested, and if Calgary is the right school, great, do that. And we're supporting businesses, say, hey, catering, especially November. It's like, this is another opportunity to expand this business season and grow it out. I do this is summer, and I'm like this. Anything we can do like that is also helping businesses expand into their segment, but expanding a little bit.
Awesome, thank you.
Just one other small, are you still doing anything for chamber?
Am I doing anything for chamber?
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce.
I wanna say yes.
Okay.
You're specific.
No, I just wondering,
I'm
I
like,
know, I was wondering if this is kind of your main gig now, if you were still doing it.
like 99% economic development, it's just because the chamber holds the contract for economic development, so.
Gotcha.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it like our tax credits provincial only, or can a municipality say we're gonna include through accommodation? Can tax credits be?
From what I've seen, they're all provincial, even like the North Bay one, even though it's specific North Bay, Sudbury, it's provincial credit that they worked, and it's kind of because Ontario puts so much money into the north that, so I think that would be something for film. And I need to dig deeper on it and learn some more, and I have someone who's very educated and helping me, which is great. So he's gonna give me a rundown of it, but I think we really need to push for more aggressive tax credits outside of, like, Kelowna and us, we're both not the same district.
Will it make a huge difference if a municipality could cater to that?
Yeah, and it's all up to whatever, but it's a lot of budget.
Yeah.
And I know municipalities also have a lot, and there's things that I need to learn more about too. I want it to be cool, and I know nothing about this. So if anyone does, let me know. We'll start the community fund. So hey, we all invest in a movie together. We all have little bits. That creates an investment fund for this to happen. So anyway,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
The next item is the council response to the community inquiries. That the council response to community inquiries for the Attainable Housing and Childcare Project be received for information.
Can I get a mover and seconder? Councilor Reed and Councilor Snavia. All in favor? Carry.
Canal Civic Center Engineering Report, that the structural engineering report prepared by Blue Rock Engineering Limited for the Canal Flats Civic Center be received for information, and that council authorize staff to investigate funding opportunities to use a phased approach for the repairs and upgrades required.
Can I get a mover and seconder? Councilor Reed, Councilor Whitson. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Whitson.
So in this report, it talks about how they want to add another, basically increase the beam size that's going up, the plies that are going up there, and also add some cabling. Now, in our committee of the whole meeting from January the 27th, we had actually budgeted $150,000 for this project. And I can see on there, we had 50,000 of money that was earmarked, I think, from CBT. Triple check it. Yeah, 50,000. Oh, sorry, it was just, yeah, so let's give it a sec. Here. 50,000, yeah, CBT, and that was for the energy efficiency upgrade. So that would have been for the HVAC part. However, we did have, like we were contributing from our general operating 121,000. So we do have 150,000 in budget for this. So what other, like, are we anticipating that it's going to cost more than 150?
Go ahead.
Because the budget is preliminary,
Okay,
that number could be removed, in which case then staff is requesting that we investigate other funding opportunities,
Okay.
just in case that's the low hanging fruit and it gets removed from the budget. Also, perhaps I'm on my to-do list is to contact CBT and see if we can use some of that money that was for the energy change. Maybe some of the supports would qualify. We do have a lot of that grant left.
Okay.
And so maybe we could do a scope change.
Okay.
So that's on my to-do list.
awesome.
Okay, anything further? All in favor? Carried.
Next item is the Kootenai River access. That the report on the Kootenai River access be received for information.
Mover and seconder. Reading, Councilor Stafford. All in favor?
Is there any discussion on this?
Any discussion?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So just a little bit of discussion on this. The business owner was here today talking and has all the questions today. I just want to state that, if I know there's no proposed plans right now to go underneath that Forest Service road, but, there is a very viable business that's operating underneath there. There's dust, there's pedestrians, and, even the idea of trucks going by there at 4 o'clock in the morning is crazy for a campground when people are staying in trailers and tents and all other kinds of things. I appreciate what interim CAO Hubenoff put, that there was no formal proposal on there. But I do agree that, if somebody came up here and went through the effort of making a presentation, I do think that we should just acknowledge that there was a presentation made, but no formal offer has been made, because, I don't want them to seem like
I don't think we didn't say that they made a presentation.
but nothing was said at all.
Well, they did make a presentation.
Yeah,
I would
and
acknowledge that.
I think that should have been in here, because it's misleading for anybody else that does read it. Other parts about this, for the approve, or when we have like the public consultation stage, I know that's not generally how the province does things, but there's nothing stopping us whatsoever from holding a public forum on anything and gathering the public's feedback. I mean, while we don't have to officially hold public consultation, I don't think there's anything stopping us from actually doing it. So if anything, doing that would help our discussions with MOT, with Certainty, with everybody else, because we get a better idea of what's going on within the public itself and what they want to see, and because that's who we are representing. So these are just my comments on it. No questions, just my comments.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Carried.
The sale of the 2007 load trail equipment trailer. The council authorized the advertisement to sell the 2007 load trail equipment trailer to the highest bidder.
I'm gonna move her to secondary. Councilor Reed and Councilor Stanberg. Any discussion?
Is that the truck that's parked out at, no, this is something completely different. I don't know, maybe I just haven't seen this piece of equipment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's just a flat deck trailer.
Yeah, but it was parked out at the wells, wasn't it?
Oh,
Okay. And it's only worth $5,000, we think?
That's what they told us, so.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
And the last item is the 2025 CBT Ready grants. That council for the Village of Canal Flats confirm the 2025 CBT Ready grant funding recommendations as presented.
We're gonna move her to secondary. Councilor Reed, Councilor Whitesell. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Reed.
I just want to mention that council that did participate in this spent a significant amount of hours going through and trying. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet all budgeted items, and there were a few things that we completely scratched, but it was a significant amount of time on that.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Carried. Okay. So I will adjourn this. Can I get movers? Councilor Whitesell and Councilor Stafford. All in favor? Carried.